Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City of Rochester Regular City Council meeting, June 26, 2017. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Belden.
Here.
Russell.
Here.
Vixen. Cuthbertson.
Here.
Giovanelli.
Here.
Peterson.
Here.
Ray.
Here.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is public comments scheduled. We have a presentation from Cornerstone regarding city self-funded health insurance. Mr. City Manager.
Yeah, I'm just going to set this up and then bring up our consultants. Don is going to walk through. There's about 6 slides, but to refresh council's memory, back in November of 2016, we looked at our renewal, and that was going to go into effect in December, and we saw about a 32% increase. I was already working with our consultants on moving from a fully insured to a self-insured plan, and we then presented that to council with, instead of the 32%, it was a 19.2% increase. So this is the 6-month window, kind of the check-in, and I won't steal all the thunder, but we chose wisely, and to date we're looking at over $130,000 actual in savings. So I'll let Don kind of come on up to the podium, and Don and Jordan can kind of, and I don't know if you want my clicker here so you guys can go through, or if you want me to do it. Yeah, either way. Yeah, just that one. Yep.
Thank you.
Well, good evening. My name is Don Appel. I'm the account director with Cornerstone Municipal, and we are the consultants working with the City of Rochester. And I've already done it wrong. There, thank you very much. Okay. So we have been the consultant with the City of Rochester for almost 8 years. That 8 years has brought a lot of changes to the benefit program. We were the ones that worked along with the city to move from the traditional style health plan to the high deductible health plan integrated with a health savings account. That was a good positive move for the city. We did that back in 2010. In 2011, we introduced for the Medicare eligible population of retirees the Medicare Advantage program. Also a good move. But what we had going on for the rest of the insurance program was a fully insured program with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. That policy renewed every December 1st, and Blue Cross would take a look at the census and look at the demographics of the group and come up with a base rate. The city was what was called experience rated, so the experience of the group played a part in the actual premiums. Not an overwhelming part, but it did play a part. And but what we found is that the city, in terms of their actual performance on the plan, was actually much better than what Blue Cross would have predicted each year. But you were still locked in with the insured premium rates that Blue Cross Blue Shield issued you each year.
My name is Jordan Bickle. I'm the account manager for the city. December 2016 brought a series of changes in how Blue Cross calculated their rates, and this was not in the city's favor. The result was going to be a 32% increase in rates. After a great deal of discussion and financial analysis, between our firm and our city, with the city manager Blaine, we brought the resolution last November to change the funding arrangement from a fully insured to a self-funding format. This was predicted to tamp down the 32% cost increase while still providing the city protection from any catastrophic claims. We still budgeted for an increase, but we did reduce the increase by $100,000. This took the cost projection from 32% to 19.2%. And this is what was provided last November. You can see where the current rates had been on the far left, what the increase of 32%, nearly $250,000, and then the proposed arrangement for fully insured was the 19.2% increase.
So that was fine, and we were very excited to be able to move forward with that change, with that arrangement. What we found, though, now, and this is where By the way, this is where I say past results are not a guarantee of future performance. So we are 6 months into the program, and 6 months does not tell the whole tale. However, we are on a good start. What we found so far is compared to the dollar amount that the rates had budgeted, we are running a 28% better than those rates. That would be $130 translated into dollars compared to where we thought we would be. And if you compare that back to the insured rate, if we hadn't made a move, if Blaine had not brought that move back up to the council for action, the cost to the city would have actually been $192,000 more than what has been spent so far this year. So the moves were good ones. There is still certainly more story to tell. I'm not necessarily saying that the second 6 months will be the same as this. I would love to come back in 6 months and tell you it is. We'll find out then. But right now we're on a very good start. The self-funded arrangement is doing everything that we thought it would, and sets us up for future success in other endeavors that the city manager would like to bring forward. Blaine, I think you had some final thoughts you wanted to share on this, correct?
Yep, there's two more. There's this slide and then there's the final. Oh, sorry. Put my mic back on. The final slide I actually drafted here, so I just wanted to, again, summarize. Since our last renewal, we originally were looking at a 32% if we stayed with the fully insured. We ended up, thank you, ended up at the lower rate at 19. That saved us, by going to the self-funded, thus far, $130,000. And again, that's great, but that's our initial 6 months. Cornerstone will be back in October with our renewals for our health insurance. The stop loss component, that's where we set our stop loss, so it's like a reinsurance level. So if we ever had any catastrophic claims, it's like a deductible for car insurance. We have that at $75,000. So we'll be looking at that and some other options, but they'll be coming back in October on that, as well as our dental and our vision plans. So, we've seen some good success by making the change that council approved, and either our consultants or I'm happy to answer any questions.
Did anyone have any questions? Please come forward.
Having come from the county where there is a self-insured program, two things. I was wondering why Blue Cross, and did you go out for proposals with other companies? Because I know we found that we did better. I can talk to you about that if you want me to privately when at a certain point in time. And also, under Obamacare, wasn't there something that was supposed to punish the self-funded programs that were viewed as existing to evade Obamacare? And there was going to be a per employee penalty, which was pushed off by the last administration into this administration. I don't know where that stands right now, and I wondered if you knew anything about that. Thank you.
Well, so there were two questions there. One was the question about Blue Cross, and was the Blue Cross bid out? One of the things that is being done, the fast answer to your question is no. It was not bid out. Blue Cross had been the carrier in place for a number of years, and based on the amount of time and the upcoming renewal, we changed that funding arrangement to Blue Cross. It was not bid out at that time. There is conversation going on right now to find out if there actually is an ability to bid out other carriers besides Blue Cross. Review of existing and former contracts will dictate that. In terms of any penalties with Obamacare, the only thing I can think of that might be a connection, a fee or penalty that was put off, was what was called the Cadillac tax. That was not in particular tied to self-funded plans. That was to any plan at all. If it had a particular dollar value that was over a certain amount, that's been kicked down the road by the current administration as well. So we don't know that will ever actually come into play. Everybody is happy to keep kicking that down the road.
Thank you. Council, yes, Councilmember Giovanelli, then Councilmember Ray.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thanks for this. I appreciate it. We started on this journey back in 2009 to get our arms around both retirement costs and both on pension and on healthcare. So it's nice to see this is actually starting to work. So I was actually going to ask the same question. So now, typically when we go through these exercises, Blue Cross is a nice transition from standard to self-funded, because you've got that gap on the promise of Blue Cross, as it were. But now I suspect you've got loss runs, you've got claim data, so you can start to build a good case for looking at what the stop loss is going to be on renewal, right? Looking at other options for other TPAs to actually do the administration part of it. So I would want to look at another option besides Blue Cross when you guys come back. So whatever that looks like, even if it's not cost effective, I still want to look at it so we have a benchmark. But it's more of a perception versus reality thing with respect to self-funded. But once you look at the claims data and you see that, we're not getting anywhere near that stop loss, and let's have an honest discussion about dropping that guy down a little bit or expanding it, as it were. Also, too, I would also be interested in hearing things that we can be doing for health and wellness stuff using the claims data, which we've never had before. We can get a feel for, hey, if we spent a few grand on this plan, it might yield much more benefits in reducing costs. So all of those things I would like to see when you guys come back in October.
Yep, these are, if I may, Mayor. So we've actually already been working with our current EAP, as well as kind of bolstering what we can with our broker on our wellness component. So we'll have more of that, as well as monthly we meet to go over all of our claims data to actually see which group. We've actually now structured it, I think at this point, 6 months. We know with our union contracts, which union groups, the retirees, we're getting into the prescription component. So we're getting into that detail. Before, when we were fully insured, we didn't have it. So now we're really getting into those numbers. And again, in October, we'll be able to come back with not just the Blue Cross, but some other options, seeing what the renewals will come back for the stop loss, potentially, maybe at 100, maybe 125, so we can see what credits we would get for actually having a higher deductible, if you will, as well as how much money we've basically for the remaining 6 months, how much we've built up our fund. In some of the other communities that I've worked for in the past, we've built that up, up to almost $1 million, so that we were able to do some of those other initiatives with wellness. Because the healthier our employees are, we actually see some of those savings as well. So in October, so we'll have plenty of time before the actual renewal in December. So that was another, I think, request from last year, is really work with Blue Cross to make sure we don't have a short 14, I think we had maybe 20 days last time, that we'll have a longer period of time so we can go through, do a presentation, and then actually make some decisions. So, and again, I'll be bringing back some recommendations as well.
Councilmember Ray.
Thank you. I also had some questions about the stop loss amount, but since we're going to be talking about that in October, that's just fine. I'm not sure if by October you'll have enough data, but I'd also be interested to see either then or maybe this time again in 2018, once you have a full year's worth of information, if there's any benchmarking that you can do with other self-insured plans, any other local municipalities, any barometric, any kind of bogeys that we can be looking at.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan does provide different reporting where they'll be able to compare the data on the plan for the city of Rochester, comparing it to their book of business. They carve out the auto industry and then compare to the rest of their book of business, and we can find certain measures there that will help with some of the things that you're talking about.
Just fine. Thank you.
Any other, I'm sorry, Councilmember Cuthbertson?
Yes, I'd just like to, clarify the answer to the question with respect to whether this was bid out and the nature of other contracts. I believe that the presenter was referring to a number of labor agreements that we've entered into specifically call for Blue Cross Blue Shield, and in some instances specific plans. So our ability to bid that, of course, is subject to those labor agreements, and I think that's an important point to clarify and expound upon. If I'm correct,
Nope,
in
you're
making that.
totally correct. And our labor council is actually reviewing all of our contracts to see if we could basically replicate some of the plans, even though it might be, under, a different
badge.
company. Correct.
Right, thank you. I'd just like to, maybe say more contextually that we're here celebrating a 19% increase. Yes, this is great. I appreciate the fine work that's being done to, stop some of the bleeding, so to speak, but everyone in the audience should be aware of the fact that this unmitigated healthcare disaster that our nation faces at present, and this completely open-ended question, doesn't just affect you in your premiums with your family or at your company. Your tax dollars are paying for this as well. And this is a dialogue much bigger than this room. So with that, I'll leave it to other people who actually get paid to do that.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Yes, sometimes I'm wondering if Affordable Care Act is the right terminology. I had a question on page 8. It says exhibits do not include funds collected by Blue Cross Blue Shield, I'm thinking Emma's Michigan, for prepaid accounts, since those still belong to the city. What does that mean?
Correct. So what happens with Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, they have what they call a hospital prepayment fund. In essence, it's a deposit that you put with Blue Cross. One of the ways they negotiate the large discounts they do with hospitals is by prepaying claims with them. So those hospitals know when it's a Blue Cross claim, they're going to get payment immediately, and then it will be later adjudicated and adjusted if necessary. So what they do is they require on the self-funded plans that a dollar amount be deposited with them. It is spent down each month and then replenished in the next monthly invoice, but that dollar amount still does belong to the city of Rochester. So if that contract were to end, that deposit does get refunded, and that's why we didn't put it in as a cost on the sheet, because it is still an asset that belongs to you.
Okay. And then one other just question, when we do the next 6-month evaluation, can we break down, I want to talk a little bit more about the stop loss, but we're going to do that in 6 months, but like the dental, the vision, break those, she's shaking her head yes, so that we can see where we're saving, where it's costing us, because we really have to dig deep to see where each of those dollars are going.
Absolutely, we'll be happy to do that, and as Blaine was mentioning, when we do the proposals for each of the different plans, we'll have a breakdown financial analysis of each one of them, the current costs, proposals for competing costs, or any of that information that you need. And at that time, by the way, certainly if there's additional detail that you don't think is being satisfied by that exhibit, just let us know, and that's what we do, is we'll be sure to provide it to
Okay.
you.
And then there was one other request, and I don't know if you can do this, but can you tell us what the average employee, what we're spending on the average employee for the health care, just in general?
That is not a number I have available today, but we'll be happy to follow up and provide it to you.
Okay, fabulous, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments? Thank you so much.
Okay.
Next, we'll move on to a presentation regarding the State Revolving Fund Program, SRF program, for sanitary sewer rehabilitation projects. Mr. City Manager.
Again, I'm going to kind of kick this off and then introduce, and I don't know if, Tom, if you want the clicker here as well. So if you move to the right, that will kind of move you on, and if you want, the dot in the center will be the, to give you a red pointer.
Great, thank you.
So we're moving along with our sewer $6 million project. We're one of 30 that moved through this overall process, and today we invited our bond counsel, who's going to explain us how the actual mechanism really to fund the $6 million actually works with the state, and kind of get into some of the details, answer some questions about scheduling, and then answer general questions.
Great, thank you, Blaine. Madam Mayor, members of council, it's a pleasure to be before you today. I'm Tom Coles with Miller Canfield. Our firm has had the pleasure of serving the city for decades as rear bond counsel. As Blaine indicated, this is what I wanted to do is just provide an overview of the SRF financing. I know you've probably heard a lot about this because it's been going on for a number of months, but just to kind of give you the full picture, because the question related to the terminology typically talks about a loan, and has throughout even the state and federal information talks about loans. But I wanted to give you the full context of how the financing ultimately happens, because ultimately it is an issuance of bonds by the city that's funded by the loan actually funds the acquisition of the bonds issued by the city. So just to give you, I don't want to bore you with a lot of the details of the SRF. There's a 36-page report that the state puts out that goes through all the details of the SRF program. I've condensed that down to just 3 or 4 slides. So again, yeah.
Still too much.
Yeah, still too much, sorry. So just basically, again, the SRF, and you'll see there's a corresponding drinking water. So there's the Clean Water Revolving Fund, which is sometimes called the SRF. And then there's the DWRF, which is the drinking water. So think sanitary sewer on one end, and then drinking water, clean water on the, drinking water on the other end. So again, environmental protection program that provides low interest financing. So the federal government funds a large part of this program, and the state actually has a 20% match to fund the low interest component of this. But ultimately, again, they buy the city's bonds at the end. And DEQ and the Michigan Finance Authority jointly administer the program. So the DEQ takes care of all the engineering aspects of it and making sure that all the construction, the contracts meet all the federal Clean Water Act requirements. And then the MFA actually provides the financing piece of it from the state. They're the ones that actually, they're the entity that actually buys the city's bonds at the end. So this is where we are. This is the total program requirements. The city's already accomplished the first three bullet points. The project plan's been in. They're already on the project priority list, which is a ranking of projects through the state and you get points for certain parts of your program, and those in the high enough rankings get funded. So we've already determined eligibility of the project. We're right now in the application submittal and review process. So parts 1 and 2 have already been submitted to the DEQ. That details how we're going to finance this, what's the actual statute we're issuing under. Part 3 is coming due July 21st, so once bids are open, they'll come back to council for review and tentative approval of the contracts and get submitted to the DEQ. Then the financing piece gets layered on top of it. So there's actually 2 calendars. There's a milestone schedule that's been in place with DEQ for a while. The Michigan Finance Authority has its own financing schedule that's starting to come into place now. And that's why we're here in front of you today to talk about the bond side of the transaction. So what will happen ultimately is DEQ issues an order of approval. That's their go-ahead to the Michigan Finance Authority to go ahead and fund the program, fund the loan that they've actually approved. The loan closing is actually where they buy the bonds. So after DEQ issues its approval, we get all the documentation associated with the city actually issuing bonds, like it would if we were selling bonds out in the market. We still have to go through the state law requirements of issuing a bond through the state laws. So the loan closing basically is we provide documentation. On September 15th, the funds are available, and the city can then start drawing those funds and reimbursing for costs associated with the project. So just to break down the loan closing a little bit. So again, DEQ issues the order. MFA then proceeds to close the loan and purchase the bonds from the city. This is what's required at the loan closing from the city side. They want a bond resolution. So if we continue to move forward, we'll bring back to council at a later date an actual bond resolution that details how much are we going to borrow, when is interest being paid, when can these bonds be called early. So there'll be a little bit more detail associated with that meets the requirements of the SRF program. A purchase contract from the state, so the MFA will actually deliver a purchase contract saying to the city, I'll buy your bonds, these are the terms, this is the interest rate, 2.5%. Some closing documents. There's a certificate that the issuer signed, an opinion from your bond counsel. That's from my firm that says these are legal, valid, and binding obligations of the city and exempt from federal and state income tax. The actual bond itself, we prepare the bond. It's a 2-page form that says the city will pay back these bonds at these particular times, and the bonds are subject to redemption at these particular dates. And then an approval from the Michigan Department of Treasury. We already have that approval in hand. That says that the city can issue debt without going back to the state Michigan Department of Treasury and getting a specific approval. So that's the essence of the closing. So let's just talk about the specific timing. So this is the 4th quarter financing schedule. So to meet the 4th quarter financing schedule, this is what we would have to put in place. So council could consider the notice of intent resolution at tonight's meeting. All that does is authorize publication of a notice. It doesn't commit the city to issue bonds at all or issue bonds in the 4th quarter or any other quarter. It just authorizes a notice to be published in the paper. If we publish the notice in the paper by July 1st, so the notice provides a notice to city residents that says, we intend on issuing bonds in an amount not to exceed $6 million to finance these sewer system improvements. The bonds will be payable from general funds of the city. and any legally available funds to pay them back. And with that comes with it the ability for a petition to be filed to the extent that 10% of the registered electors wanted to file a petition to say that we wanted to put this to a vote. If within that 45-day period a petition is filed, then we have to wait and take it to a vote of the electors. If not, the city can proceed to issue to the next step, which would be the bond authorizing resolution. So under that schedule, we'd come back to council at the August 14th meeting to consider the bond resolution. Again, bids will already have been in. We'll have a good idea as to the cost of the project, and the bond resolution would be specific as to the dollar amount for the bonds to be issued. You'll see that's where the DEQ order comes in on August 23rd, and then the purchase contract, the MFA would deliver that to the city on the 25th of August, and we'd actually pre-close. Now, nobody needs to be present for the pre-close, and we basically send signed documentation that my office prepares up to the state for their review, and then funds are available on September 15th. So that was a lot to cover in just a few slides, but the idea here is the action that's being requested tonight is actually consideration of the notice of intent resolution, which authorizes simply the publication of the notice. There's been some discussion of potentially seeing if this project can time up with a future drinking water project, and maybe it gets delayed to the state's next fiscal year, which again really starts October 1 of this year. By adopting the notice of intent and publishing it, it doesn't indicate whether that's a fourth quarter or first quarter financing. You can use the notice of intent for whenever that actually the city decides to enter into whether it's this fourth quarter or a future quarter for the state. So if there's questions on the resolution or the bonding process, I'd be happy to answer them at any time.
Does anybody have any questions before we go to council?
Yeah, I asked at one time, and you said this was going to be loan money and that there wouldn't be a referendum opportunity. So now I'm trying to understand what the date, where that 45 days is from when to when.
The referendum is when the notice is published. So once the notice is published,
There's 45 days from
Correct.
then. Okay.
Correct.
So it would be July 1st.
That's the date that I assumed
Okay.
for the
Thank you.
publication of the notice, but
Thank you.
Yep.
Just in case anybody's interested.
Council, questions? Councilmember Giovanelli.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thanks for walking us through
or running you through it. Sorry.
running us through the sweetened condensed version, Reader's Digest. So just so I'm clear, so we go through the whole process. The city is on the hook for the bonds. The money to pay those bonds is coming from the state. Yes?
The money to buy the city's bonds comes from the state.
Right.
So what happens is that money then goes into an account at the state, and the city can then draw from that account to reimburse for expenditures related to the project.
So it's a couple things. Is there an interest rate arbitrage between the two? So we're issuing bonds and then...
No. So here's the interesting thing. So unlike other city-issued bonds, when we did the capital improvement bonds for the parking structure, on the day that we closed, all the money came to the
Right.
construction account, and then the city earned interest on that account during that period of time. That's where an arbitrage comes into play. Basically, that's the difference between what the city's paying out in interest rate on its bonds and what it's receiving in investments in the construction fund. This is a drawdown borrowing. So you're actually not going to you're going to requisition funds. They're going to come in. They're going to get paid out right away. So there's really going to be no opportunity to invest those funds and earn any arbitrage on them.
Got it. So the bonds are issued, the cash goes to the state and not to the city?
Correct.
And it's being held up there in trust, if you will?
Correct.
All right, so full faith and credit of the city.
Correct.
Is this a guarantee, if you will, by the state, a unremovable guarantee, or does it have to get renewed for funding every year, every time the drugs? What I'm worried about is the next administration comes in or somebody else and they decide to change the funding mechanism.
No, once the funding's there, it's the city's funding. So once say that we use the $6 million as the dollar
Unless
figure.
we're like Illinois and the whole state goes bankrupt, but.
Actually, no, those funds are dedicated towards the city for this project.
Got it,
So
okay.
that wouldn't, a bankruptcy of the state, those monies are set aside for this particular project.
Okay, great. And then, all right, so you answered that question in the arbitrage. That was my the big thing was, this is the first time that we've been, notified of this particular requirement. It would have been nice to know this a while ago.
I apologize for not bringing this resolution earlier. Again, part of that is my mistake. It was my understanding that the city was understood that there was going to be a bond associated with the project in general. I should have brought this to the prior meeting. Once we determined, the Part 1 application determines the method of financing, whether you're going to do revenue bonds or capital improvement bonds or some other type of bond program. And that was submitted by June 1st. So it's my mistake. I should have brought this to the last meeting so you would have had more time to review this.
And we've been through this several times, so I'm going to go back to the one on February 11th, 2017, which is, I think, it's like 8,000 decks we've been through. But what the $6 million is being spent on, the biggest ones are Mill Street, $1.6 million on that. A lot of work in Paint Creek, on Metro Park. South Street, sanitary sewer rehab. So, I mean, this is literally $6 million worth of stuff that has to get done. And I don't want to beat the horse to death. We've been through this exercise plenty. But this is an important exercise. It would have been nice to have this and have us be able to plan, it's somewhat troublesome that it's
Understood.
where we're at. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, I mean, I'm in the same boat, but I'm thinking I'm grasping it because I thought it was going to be similar to the parking deck bond, and it's not. Because we're not getting the interest, there's a few little things because it kind of goes into a trust, like Councilmember Giovanelli said, so that makes sense to me. Does this start the clock to tick that it has to be done in a certain period of time?
No. So this resolution does not at all, right? So you'll get, once bids get opened and we come back for a bond resolution, you can stop the process until the order is actually issued, the DEQ order of approval, August 23rd. Or actually the purchase contract is signed on the 25th of August. So
Okay, so then that's when the clock starts ticking.
that's when you've basically said to the state, you're gonna buy our bonds under these terms.
Okay.
Right.
So I guess what one meeting, there was some talk about we have to finish this within a certain period of time. And I'm not sure exactly. I can't remember, and I didn't write it down somewhere. So I want to make sure that we're in the right timing stream so that we're not getting caught like we don't have the timing's not right, or we don't have the contractor, or something happens that everything is flowing correctly and we're not going to get stuck with.
So what you try to do with these projects is you're lining up the engineering side of it, the actual construction of the project, and when you need proceeds to do that, and when you fit into the financing schedule for the state too. And the state has its own fiscal year of October 1 to September 30. So right now we're at the end of the state's fiscal year. We know that the interest rate's set for 2.5% for this current
Which we
fiscal
want to
year.
take advantage of.
Now, they're going to set the rate. I actually asked somebody at the state today, when you're setting the rate, and they said, we'd know maybe by the end of this week what the rate is for next year. We don't anticipate that rate's going to change. We certainly don't think it's going to go up from the 2.5%. So there might be an indicator as to, okay, are we talking about a different interest rate that we're paying? The project engineering and construction, you're still going to get in relative, probably, your DPW can talk better about that, but that's probably sometime in the spring where you're going to start construction. The thing with the funds go in there, you don't pay interest until you actually draw. So even though the interest rate is set at 2.5% and those funds are set aside there,
Okay.
unlike if we received all the money in our own, in the city accounts,
Right.
you start paying interest on the full dollar amount. So when we did the parking structure, on day one, we started paying interest on the full dollar amount because they were all delivered to us at that time. And we had the ability to invest those. So the only difference here is that the state's buying the bonds as opposed to a different investor. And we're not getting all the proceeds at first. When we draw money, we pay interest based on those draws.
Okay, so I'm getting it. So like Mill Street, so if we just do Mill Street, let's just say. So the other stuff that we're not doing yet, we're not paying interest on all that, we're only paying interest on the monies that we're drawing for Mill Street.
Right, and you have 3 years to basically spend the bond proceeds. So once
That's what I was saying. Okay, 3 years.
3 years. So once the
Okay.
money gets into that account, you have 3 years to expend on the projects that were identified in the
So
project
that's what
plan
I'm
and
saying, that
submitted to them.
the clock does start ticking, and we have 3 years
Correct.
to. That's important.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Cuthbertson, and then Councilmember Ray.
Thank you, Mr. Collison. I appreciate your, I would almost say unwitting willingness to fall on the sword in terms of the timing. But let me be clear, as somebody who sat on the committee, the infrastructure committee, and has been a part of these discussions for some time, we were told by numerous professional consultants, all of whom were actually here many times before you. This is a loan, this is a loan, this is a loan. So I appreciate your gesture in that regard, but candidly, that issue, I don't believe in good faith falls at your feet. That notwithstanding, I understand the mechanism here. It is an unusual one, and I understand how others are shorthanding it into the term loan. But I'm glad the matter has been clarified appropriately, and I don't see that it changes my viewpoint on the matter in terms of the form that has to be undertaken to achieve the substance to which we have agreed as a policy matter. So, thank you.
Any other Councilmember Ray, I'm sorry.
And if I may, to the Mayor Pro Tem, and please correct me if I'm wrong, on reading, not only do we not pay interest on the money until it's drawn, but we have monthly observation windows so that we get 12 bites at the counter apple, if you will, whenever we need funds to draw them, so that on the opposite side, there is a ticking clock, but there's also, we're not stuck where we have to wait or postpone projects because we only get another window to get more money in 6 months or whenever. It's on a monthly basis.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So you request draws monthly from the state. Just to close the loop on the draw, since it is slightly different than what we've seen. So we're targeting projects that have contingencies built in on them, right? So at closing, we're going to have a dollar amount. Let's just say it's $6 million. If the projects come in where you don't spend the contingency, you don't repay $6 million because we wouldn't have drawn those additional funds. So what happens at project completion is that a final payment schedule gets put together based upon what was actually drawn. So let's just say it's a circumstance where it's $5.8 million that's drawn. That's the final repayment schedule based off of that. You never actually have to use the $200,000 if you don't need it for your project and you don't have to repay it.
Okay.
And then I was going to kind of caps. I mean, my rough math on 6 million. I don't know what the relative public market rate for municipal bonds is. It is active, but if you just used 4% versus the 2.5%, this low cost or low interest rate financing over the 20 years essentially saves residents about 1.8 million in additional interest expense over the life. So there's certainly a lot of value in using this. It's not by low interest. I don't think is just something they slapped on it to make it look attractive. Like it really is a savings.
Councilmember Giovanelli.
Oh, thank you. I try and through analogy. So in effect, the state is the bank.
Yes.
And this is a line of credit, and we draw up to $6 million, and whatever we draw, we have to pay back over the 20 years. So after the projects are completely done, so does the interest start after everything's done, or does the interest start on every draw?
Incrementally
Yeah,
on average.
okay.
Yep.
So how does, and it's probably a question for Anthony, but how does this look on our balance sheet, right? So the city has got debt of another additional bond debt of $6 million, right?
Correct.
Whether we draw it or not. And then the offset is going to be this asset of cash, if you will.
That's right.
That we draw from. Okay. All right. So the debt will be on our books immediately as soon as the bond issuance happens, or as soon as the line of credit, whatever you want to call it, is approved.
Yeah, and that can get adjusted once the final determination is made. It'll be somewhere near $6 million though from the
Yeah,
project
no, I
analysis,
get it.
right?
Well,
So
I'm
that, you
looking
might
at
get a
it.
slight adjustment, but that will it will be a debt of the city. That will
Knowing how these projects go, it's probably going to come back way over $6 million.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to consider the notice of intent for the resolution not to exceed $6 million.
Support.
So I have a motion by the Mayor Pro Tem, support by Councilmember Ray. Any further discussion? I just want to say thank you for explaining this. I did try in the back end to do a lot more research, but this was helpful.
Good, thank you.
Any other comments? Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Dalden.
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Vixen. Sorry. Cuthbertson.
Yes.
Jovinelli,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Ray.
Yes.
You'll have to shout loud.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I could take a stab at it for him.
Let's
Phone a
not.
friend.
Next, we have a receipt of a proclamation from the Rochester Hills Historic District Committee regarding the bicentennial. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Julie Grantham. I'm Vice Chair of the Rochester Hills Historic District Commission. I'm here on behalf of our Chair, Jason Thompson, who unfortunately could not be here tonight. And I'm joined with two of my fellow commissioners, Susan McKinnon and Darlene Janulis. I know a lot of you know Darlene, so I don't want to mess up. And you'll forgive me, the professor, the eyes have gone, so I have to read with glasses. But whereas the Grahams, the first settlers in Rochester, built a log cabin in 1817, becoming one of Oakland County's first settlements. Whereas the village of Rochester was formed on April 12, 1869. Whereas the city of Rochester was formed in 1967. Whereas the city of Rochester has shown a commitment to historic preservation. Whereas the city of Rochester is home to several historically significant buildings, including but not limited to the Roland Sprague Building, the Opera House, the Rochester Grain Elevator, the Western Knitting Mill, the Cobblestone Home Bakery, the Rochester Community Schools Administrative Center, and numerous historic homes. Whereas the city of Rochester will celebrate its bicentennial with a year-long celebration. Whereas the scheduled celebratory events, including the Greater Rochester Heritage Festival Days, the Rochester 200 Project, the Bicentennial Barn Dance, and the Rochester Homecoming, will generate interest in local history and will lead to more preservation efforts. Now, therefore, the Rochester Hills Historic District Commission commends and congratulates the City of Rochester on its bicentennial and its celebratory events and on its efforts to engage in historic preservation. On behalf of Jason Thompson, the Chair of the Rochester Hills Historic District Commission, writes, thank you and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have to make a motion to accept?
Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like me to make a motion to accept?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion to accept the proclamation, celebration 200th birthday of the city of Rochester from the city of Rochester Hills.
Thank you. I have a motion by the Mayor Pro Tem. Support by Councilmember Jovinelli. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Belden,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Cuthbertson,
Yes.
Jovinelli,
Yes.
Peterson,
No.
Ray.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, I would like to offer miscellaneous public comment. If anyone would like to come forward and miscellaneous, now would be the time to do that. Please.
The only thing that I wanted to suggest was that it concerned me that under public comment, one of your items was an action item, and those really shouldn't be there if it's just presentations and those types of things. So that's my only concern.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Any other miscellaneous public comment this evening? Okay, we'll go ahead and move forward. Next, we have approval of the minutes. Consideration of the minutes of the regular meeting of June 12th, 2017, and the special meeting of June 1st, 2017. The Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, I'll move to approve with a couple of suggestions. I would really like to see a little bit more to our minutes so we have a little bit more historical follow-up. For instance, on page 2, at the very end, third paragraph, or third sentence, I guess, up, when it says Peterson commented that maps would have been very helpful. And then we had some discussion about how it would be really helpful to include maps when we're talking about land, just in general. And so those are the kind of things that if we have that in the minutes, I think would be easier for staff and for us to remember that that's something that we want to do. And then on page 3 of 6, the third paragraph down, I would have loved to see some more details. We had talked about the interest rate and how that would offset us using the monies at capital expense, but none of that discussion was in there, just so that people in the future can see that that was discussed. That's why we made that decision to lease. And I know that we've had this discussion about Robert's Rule of Order of just having discussion, but I think would be very helpful. Then on page 4, at the very top sentence, Russell asked how many employees would have, and that would have been during the largest staffed shift. And so Mr. Damone answered it would be 30 employees, but it wasn't just how many employees at whole, it was employees of the highest, number at a certain shift. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5 paragraphs down, there was a lot of discussion on the ordinance from the front-loaded, side-loaded with video on the curb. Mr. Banda also helped kind of clarify the hard surface versus drainage, the curbing for that long driveway, but none of that discussion is in here, and especially like the curbing part, I think is really important for us to go back into the future, that we can say that was something that was discussed for drainage. And then I totally missed the discussion with Mr. DeZerman on, and maybe I missed it somewhere, maybe it's somewhere in here, about the historic ordinance. I didn't see that. And so those are the kind of things that I would like to see. I know that there's
Helpful. Thank
been, discussion, so thank you.
So I have a motion to approve with those changes by the Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have support on the motion with those changes?
I have support, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if I may add a comment. Because a lot of the questions that I had asked, the information was not put in here that I think what Mayor Pro Tem Russell is referring to throughout all of those. Also at the bottom of page 3, regarding the questions I asked about the sidewalks, it was more about there was more to that than just about sidewalks. So.
Can I just have one more? So just as a helpful, for like this meeting minutes, is when they were talking about the healthcare and those questions that we asked that we would like to see these things, is to put those in the minutes, because then I can go back to that minutes and say, okay, those are the things that we need to follow up, and I want to make sure that they present them to us in 6 months, just for an example.
Any other comments on the requested changes? Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Sheldon.
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Cuthbertson.
Yes.
Jovenelli.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Ray.
Yes.
Next, we have the approval of the consent agenda. We have 3 items. Item A is consideration of a special event application from the DDA to hold farm-to-table dinners on July 23rd and September 24th. We have consideration of a request from the police chief to purchase of a police interview room video system, and consideration of a request from the DPW to purchase a tractor. Council.
Make a motion to accept as presented.
I have a motion by Councilmember Peterson. Do I have a support?
Support.
Support by Councilmember Ray. Any other discussion or questions? Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Sheldon.
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Cuthbertson.
Yes.
Jovenelli.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Ray.
Yes.
No public hearings this evening. Next, we go to legislative deliberation. First is consideration of a zoning ordinance for Rivers Edge District, second reading and adoption.
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion by Councilmember Cuthbertson, support by Councilmember Giovanelli. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have a comment?
I did have a comment. I
Yes.
just wanted to point out that this district can have fairly high, tall buildings in it, large buildings, but there are no frontage and no lot size requirements for this district, as has been imposed by the master plan on office only.
Thank you.
Wanted to make that point.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
So on this ordinance, there is a buffer, correct? Or is it lot line to lot line?
There's minimal setbacks.
Setbacks, thank you. That was
Yes.
the word I was looking
Yep.
for. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yes. I can quickly run over them if you like. The front yard is setback of 25 feet, side yards 20 feet, rear yards 50 feet, lot coverage maximum 75%.
And yes, Councilmember Cuthbertson.
And also by extension, there's for buildings taller than 3 stories, they shall be stepped back, where the wall step back must be increased for every additional story above the 3rd story. And so there are, reasonable and thoughtful controls on the overall impact on the site. So, thank you.
Any other discussion on the item? I'm sorry.
no,
Yeah,
Madam Mayor, that's
Councilmember
fine.
Peterson.
Thank you. I wanted to know if then before the next meeting or before we do more of these, if we can actually have a spreadsheet done up with each one of these districts with all their setbacks just listed. So when we're looking at it, we know all the setbacks of all these districts that are on our current land use map and future land use map.
I could do them for the current districts, but each one's evolving as they go. So,
Well, if we do old and then new,
okay,
so
we can
we
do that,
have
sure.
that comparison as
That's
well,
fine.
that would be great,
Yes,
because
they
it would have
can.
been helpful with this too.
okay.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Dalton.
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Cuthbertson.
Yes.
Jovenelli.
Yes.
Peterson.
No?
Ray.
Yes.
Next is consideration of an ordinance amendment to the City Code, Chapter 27, Section 27-3 and 27-4, Historic District. Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Before you is a proposed ordinance amendment, and the sections involved in this amendment would be sections 27-3 and 27-4. There are, the request to me at the last City Council meeting was to prepare an ordinance amendment that would do 2 things. One is to remove all the Rochester-specific language regarding Rochester historic landmarks, and also the the opt-in provisions, to remove those and to have it more akin to the state statute. I believe that what's before you does that. To run through the ordinances, in section 27-3, that's the definition section. So the only change in that is to remove the definition of Rochester historic landmark, which is used later. And in section 27-4, it removes the extra step of the requesting by the property owner to be considered for historic treatment for their property. And I took the state statute and I inserted that language in there in its place where it was needed. And then in subsection 8, that was the actual Rochester Historic Landmark Property section, which was the notwithstanding the opt-in requirements. So I believe what's before you would bring our ordinance out of the Rochester-specific language in those 2 areas and into compliance with the, or not compliance, but more in line with what the state law language is. So the requested action, if City Council is inclined to move it forward, is to move it for first reading and introduction.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. If anybody has any comment, please come forward.
Yeah, I just think you got to go back and look where you started, and you didn't start with something that was a mandate from any city council, and now you're proposing that because one little piece of another of your ordinance didn't go through, so you're changing the whole, if you adopt this, you're changing the whole thing. And I think there was a lot of validity and a lot of people, I didn't get up and say anything against about it because I thought, opt out, that's good. I mean, look at the city, it's opted out of several things. Smart for being one, and Mr. Cuthbertson had another one at the last meeting. So opt-outs can be good, and they can work for you. And everybody is different. Everybody has different financial issues. Everybody has different whatevers that they look at when they determine their property and what they want to happen to it. But when you just take this option away from them, a lot of people will go for it and say, yeah, I think that's a good idea. But there are some who won't. And that's, I think that we're just heading towards lawsuits, and whether they're winnable or not winnable, they still cost money. Jeffrey makes out.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
But
The request was specific to avoid what Ms. Anderson is saying. I'm sorry, Ms. Douglas. Sorry, Sue Ann Douglas. The concern by the City Council is because the current ordinance does not mirror state law, that there was a concern raised by an attorney. I don't happen to agree with it, but an attorney raised the issue of if you're not in line with the state statute, then you open yourself up to litigation. Whereas what's before you today is to actually remove the Rochester-specific language to make that even less likely that the city would be subject to litigation. So I think Ms. Douglas's concern is perhaps misunderstood as to what the ordinance amendment does. Is it actually brings it in compliance with state law.
Thank you.
well, I did understand that, but I also heard all the debate around it before, and it was opt-out, opt-out, opt-out is good, I'll support it if it's an opt-out, and many of you said that, and, here we are looking at something totally different, and I think that's a dramatic change, and I don't want to call it a shift and shaft or anything like that, I wouldn't do anything like that. But that's kind of how some people might interpret it.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Douglas. Councilmember Cuthbertson.
Thank you. With that, I'd be happy to offer a motion for first reading and introduction.
Motion by Councilmember Cuthbertson for first reading introduction, support by Councilmember Giovanelli. Discussion, Councilmember Ray, and then Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you. So, in this may not pertain to the ordinance, but presumably, as a reminder for everyone, this is going to be an opt-in program. Homes or sites or properties otherwise that are designated as historic, non-contiguous historic districts will essentially remain such, although there won't be a unique designation, one being landmark, they'll all just be non-contiguous historic districts. Is there within this ordinance, or is this a separate conversation, the mechanism for existing or current historic districts that do not want to otherwise be a historic district to opt out? Is that a separate conversation, that mechanism, or is that one within the same of this ordinance?
Mr. City Attorney.
I think what you're referring to is we have 3 historic districts today. Those who decided that they wanted to initiate the process through the opt-in, and that went through the process and City Council established the districts. And that's in the current ordinance. Those properties are specifically identified, property address, tax number, or tax ID, legal description. So those will not be impacted anyway. Those property owners wanted to do this anyway.
Yes.
And so really what the state laws didn't provide for is a property owner to initiate the process, but more of the city can initiate the process at any time. So there won't be any effect on those properties that are currently those are currently historic districts. The change that are presented here, really, whether it's contiguous or not contiguous, that was never a difference between the two ordinances, between the ordinance and the state statute. So a non-contiguous can occur and a contiguous could occur. Now, under the opt-in provision that we're removing, it'd be pretty hard, I think, to have a contiguous, because you'd have to have all of those properties say, yes, we want them. And that's one of the things that were removed in this. Because if you wanted to have an opt-in trigger only, then to have a contiguous, more than one property, everyone would have to buy in. Otherwise, that wouldn't be voluntary or opt-in.
So Councilmember Ray.
Yeah, if I may. So then now I have 2 questions. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So basically, properties that were on the previous landmark list, that was they were never in districts to begin with, so that name just goes away. Okay.
I apologize. I understand
Right.
what you're
Okay,
saying now.
okay.
Yeah, that list will
Yes.
no longer exist.
Okay.
Because there's no mechanism to have a list.
Right, okay, got it. Now, so the opt-in, unless I'm misunderstanding it, I mean, although the language may not be in there, at least as I read, that was kind of the gist of what I was understanding, was that the city still has the ability to create non-contiguous historical districts. If a property owner wants to petition the district committee to become a district, they can then go up to city council and they can just basically say, yes, you can be one, right?
Absolutely. Instead of that being the only way.
Right.
That remains a way.
Okay.
So city council could initiate it.
Okay.
Or the property owner could initiate
Okay.
it.
Thank you.
Any other, Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you. For the attorney then, is there anything in here preventing the homeowner from exercising his property rights then moving forward to protect him if he so chooses to not be a part of this?
Mr. City Attorney.
There is no, I'm not sure I understand what, but there's, the property owner would have the same rights as they would have under state law, whether it's to make their voice heard, if the city, maybe give an example and see if this is where you're reaching, is if the city decides to initiate the process for establishing a historic district for a particular property or set of property, that process is already in state law, and their rights to object, that doesn't mean they can stop it, but they can certainly make their voice known.
Okay.
So this will be any other city that's adopted the state law, or that they have the same rights as before this ordinance was even adopted.
Any other questions?
No, madam. No.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you for doing the red letter and crossing out and all that good stuff to help it be more clear, at least for me. So the public hearings are being held, and I'm looking on page 4 under 5, they're being held at the study committee level?
First.
And so I would love to see the historic minutes on the website. Now, I haven't went on the last week or so. A couple weeks ago, they were not caught up. They were not on there. We need to continue to still work on that. And if we can't get those, we got to figure out what we can do, especially since that's where the public hearings are being held.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, the roll, please. Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff.
It's fine.
Okay,
It's
Councilmember
procedural for later.
Cuthbertson, okay. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Belden.
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Cuthbertson.
Yes.
Giovanelli.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Ray.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we will do consideration of fiscal year end 2017 budget amendments. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, thank you. I want to take a moment to both acknowledge and thank our finance department, specifically our director, Anthony, for picking up when our retired director, Hiller, retired, and closing out this year under budget. There were some unexpected higher expenses, specifically in health insurance, staffing, and a few others, and some better than budgeted revenues in our building permits, state sharing, and a few other items. But once all the bills are paid, we're estimating that the books will be closed with $154,000 under budget. My appreciation also goes out to the department directors, too, for operationally staying under budget. And I know Anthony's put together a nice cover memo and some detailed information, so I'd invite him to come up and share any other comments.
Please come forward.
Good evening, Council. Yes, it's a very exciting end of the year here. We're getting ready to wrap it up to a close. We got one more week to go. As Blaine had introduced, this is the time of the year where our auditor requires amendments have to be made prior to end of the fiscal year. So we did, as we do throughout the year, monitor where the expenses are, where things are trending, make sure the departments are operating efficiently and per the policy and the goals and objectives, and items that were planned for and budgeted and so on. With the year, we've had a uptick with the building revenues and state sharing, so that's been our big increase on why the revenues are up. And then on the expense side, obviously, as we talked about earlier, we have things like the health care and those other large costs that are allocated throughout the budget. Within the memo, there's just a few items to hit. One is I want to make sure that we roll over this year the capital projects. So you see in here a hint on the bicentennial project, the financial software, and the bicentennial event. Those items were approved, with an amount for each one. So the project has a budget. There's only going to be so much that'll be spent on those items by the end of the year, so that's what the amounts that are going to be rolled over into the next fiscal year. There's no additions being added to it. So when the fiscal year's over, once the invoices are all in for June, and then they'll get backdated back to June 30th if they were for the end of the fiscal year, we'll have our cutoff, and then the rest will be allocated for 18. Parking fund, that was another one I wanted to hit real quickly on. As we're coming up to the end, we're tracking fairly well, right on par with what the projection was for the last change, right? So we're aiming to be about 1.489 million on the revenue and about 1.37 on the expenses. What does that mean? We're going to be around 111,000 to the good. Per council direction, and just so everyone watching for the budget and at the meetings knows that this money, any surplus is specifically for the parking fund, maintenance of the decks, and repairs. I mean, that's what the money's for. General fund is not being subsidized by the parking fund or any of those items. So that money's set aside and will be for the parking fund, and we'll know what those year-end amounts are. About 99% of the way for the next quarterly report, which you guys will receive at the second meeting in July. And with that, I don't just read this verbatim here, but if there's any questions or general items that anyone would like to know, the follow-up to this is the amendments that will make the changes for the year end. You'll see actual amounts for the year end at the next quarterly report, like I said, the second meeting in July, and we'll see where everything is ending up. And then we have the audit also coming shortly after that as well.
Okay, just wait right there. Any questions out in the audience before I go to council? Council, any questions for the, yes, Mayor Pro Tem?
So under Department 529, Environmental Services, can you remind me, so it says increased equipment use, because that's up 13%. Can you remind me what that is?
I will flip through that right now. All right, gotcha. Okay, the main hit on the equipment side, so anytime DPW is performing work in that department, which is going to cover everything from leafs to trash collections, the hazardous waste disposal, our community hazardous waste program, all of those items hit into that department. So if there's more cleaning, more usage of the vehicles, those are all charged to that account, and then that increases those amounts that you see here, like the 13%.
So, I mean, so is that just for equipment?
Because
it says increased equipment use.
Sure. So the increase in dollars is $49,000 for the fund. For that department. 37,000 of that is equipment rental, which is paying ourselves. That's the money that when they use the vehicle, we replenish revolving equipment with that money.
Okay, and so does that show on the revenue side, or is
It does in 661, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll see revenue for DPW.
Okay. I got
yes.
it now. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Any, Councilmember Giovanelli?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Anthony, thank you. Nice work as usual. Questions on just sort of on these spend deltas. I want to know, and it's not going to stop tonight's exercise, but I want to know for future budgeting for next year. We had some pretty sizable misses here on a few of the line items. I want to understand what that is.
Sure.
So that is just an extra credit homework assignment that you intend to have one or two as time goes on. So this 80 grand in general purposes, I always hate that, so I want to know, give me a breakdown of what that is. I get what your notes say, but just kind of give me some detail behind that. The miss on healthcare, I want to understand that because I thought we budgeted for what we thought, and then given the presentation tonight, are any of those savings going to come back on the back end of this, or is that in the next fiscal year?
That part will be in the next fiscal year. So when we go back to when we originally budgeted, we had an amount in there of 5% increase on the amount. Then we got the notice of, hey, it's 32%, as we heard earlier tonight.
Right.
At the end of the day, when it ends up coming out to 19%, once it all, that's still 19% from a 5%. So on the budget side, there's a hit and a miss there.
Got it.
More of a miss than a hit.
Sure, yeah.
So.
Okay. All right, so we'll have to address those things also on a go-forward basis. And then Public Works, sanitation, all the big ones here. I just want to understand what drove that. I know stuff happens in winter and all that other nonsense, but just so we can get, we've come a long way on our budgeting process, and we just need to keep challenging ourselves to get to narrow that gap between budget and actual as much as possible.
Sure. And you said sanitation?
Yeah,
Okay.
so you've got, a 20% increase in Public Works, you got a 17.2% increase in sanitation, environmental services, my colleague already brought up. It's
And-
great that we
yep.
found an extra $383,000. The downside is we spent it. So just I want to understand that.
Sure, absolutely.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, and this is just a good example of when this was presented us last year, anything that was double digit, and we had talked about anything about 10 to 12%, that there was going to be asterisk and say, okay, someone was sick, or we had an equipment breakdown or something. When we have those large numbers, and I don't know what it was, but those are the kind of things that are important for us to talk about, solidify, put it in meetings. I don't know what, Councilmember Giovanelli's on par because we're always like in these meetings where we really don't have time to vet it all out, but then we never do. We never have that chance to vet it out. So, I would really like to see, and I don't know what the rest of my colleagues, but there should be a breaking point. If it's over 10%, 12%, something that we have to see what the reason was. Because some of these, some of them you get it, and like you have these little, notes, which is very helpful. But there's, some things like, wow, could we, really tighten that up?
Absolutely. You bring up a great point with that. So one of the items mentioned at the previous meeting was that budgeting policy, right, with amendments, right? So that's where what those thresholds are, whether it's, and that'll be what comes to the discussion of, is it, we aiming for, per line item, is it 10% or $10,000 or both, or, those are the thresholds we'll have the discussions on, so we can get the policy in place, and then we'll have the discussion, and everyone will understand that, hey, if things are going out too far out of whack, either direction, right? It could be 10% under too, and it's like, well, what happened? Why is it less? Those are the things that will then get brought forward. That council will then say, hey, we want to know anything outside these parameters, and then that's what'll come forward.
And I really appreciate you. That's why I didn't want to just brush over those policies, because we are a policy-making board, and those are really important decisions for us. And believe me, out there, because I know that I'm probably going to get emails, because 10% is going to be way too much. So I'm not saying that, people. What I'm just saying is that we need to figure out what our threshold is, and we have to keep it a little bit tighter. So
And then
thank
I just have a quick, and then Councilmember Carlton, excuse me. When you get this new financial software, is that going to be helpful to get us data on a quicker basis? So when you get the policies, that you'll be able to keep us updated, more frequently?
Yes, absolutely. So, one of the things is there's a couple of the policies you're going to be getting in a certain order for a reason, right?
Okay.
The purchasing policy is one of them. What are the thresholds amounts? If it's budgeted or non-budgeted, which ones does council want to see first versus not? And those policies are going to get built into the software once they start writing those rules. For the amendment side, those are all going to be items that we'll be able to control when we want to be alerted by each department. So, for city manager, here's your bucket of accounts, and if they start going either way, he'll be noticed. He can see it all the time and see where he's at. Same thing with everyone's department. So
Okay.
that is going to be before we wrap up the software rollover, so we can get that in there.
Perfect. Councilmember Cuthbertson.
And that is a segue to my interest, which is that this exercise or this process becomes one that takes, changes in actuals. I don't want to say real time, but monthly, quarterly, and gets turned into management information, and not a housekeeping exercise at the end of the fiscal year. Okay, this is trending, positive, negative, indifferent. And at what level, at the department levels, is material, I think that's an internal administration exercise to begin to say, hey, this is when we need to be sitting down and talking about that. And then how all of that at the department level rolls up and affects a particular budget is something that then what triggers review and discussion here mid-year. And that to me is a very important capability going forward in order to be, to be a managing board, right? And not just a sit and forget on the budget until the end of the year. And like, oh, here's your housekeeping, approve this. We were off by $200,000 in this budget. I'm grossly oversimplifying things. I'm not trying to articulate that is anyone's preference, but that's the nature of the system capability or incapability, as it were, that we had, where we end up finding, we end up getting the sum total of this, at the end of June. And so I'm very keen, and that was one of the reasons why I was such a proponent for this ERP system, is to be able to be more real time with what we're doing. For me, on a separate note, when we consider budgets, it isn't just, so budgets are priorities, right? Budgets are policy, in essence. It's how you spend money at the local level. What we don't spend money on that we say we're going to spend money on is almost as important to me. Because if we're saying we're going to do one thing, which means we are saying we're doing that thing to the exclusion of something else, right? Whether that else be a different program or savings or a tax cut. I mean, pick however else you might deal with that revenue. The fact is, if we're not spending money for some reason, I want to understand that just as much as whether we're spending too much or too much on an item, because I don't want to see priorities that are funded by council, in essence, not get executed for whatever reason. And so that's an area that I think doesn't get maybe as much attention as, cost overruns, but it's still policy. It's still, what are we doing with the resources that are here? So that'll be an area that you'll hear me talk more about. So
absolutely.
Thanks for hearing me out on the first version.
Councilmember Giovanelli.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I just would like to point out that if not by the grace of God for these large increases in permit revenues and increased sharing, we would be having a much different discussion right now. Would have been, a several $100,000 miss on the budget going into fund balance and having a very painful discussion. So while our wonderful property values and estate and everybody doing well bailed us out on this one, it could have easily gone in a different direction. So thus why we need to get in front of this much quicker to be able to affect management decisions quicker.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's absolutely.
Any other council members?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Anthony. Very well done. I did speak with the city manager earlier and went over all these budget amendments that you have here. I guess my thought was, with some of these increases and decreases, I mean, some of these were all part of the goals and objectives anyhow moving forward with everything that we had agreed to prior, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we knew with the historical commission and that they, I thought that 30,000 was given to the bicentennial, so I was wondering why we had a huge, well, it's only a $3,000 increase in that budget line item there. I know it's small, but I just was curious what they were doing, if that was for something else.
Which line item is that one? That you're looking
That
at?
is under the, it's on the second one, it's the general fund expenditures.
For historical commission?
Correct, yeah.
So right now, and Blaine, we had the discussion as well, any of the fees for legal services have been going, we've been putting them to historical commission, right? Because they're related to this, the ordinance and those
Okay.
items. The commission itself, so size handles the treasurer part of that. They are not over their budget that you guys had allocated to them. That's
Right.
that's where the legal fees have gone. We actually had talked about making a new line item in the
Okay.
historical commission called legal, and then pulling all those fees out because they're not the ones that are.
Right, using it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that makes more sense because that wasn't clear, and I didn't think that they were doing anything that was significant to
Mhm.
cause that. Okay.
Anything else?
No, Madam Mayor?
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the budget amendments for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017, with rollover of remaining unspent balances of approved capital projects to fiscal year end 2018?
So moved.
Support.
I'm sorry, who was the first person? Councilmember Giovanelli, support by Councilmember Peterson. Any more discussion on the item? Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Belden,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Cuthbertson,
Yes.
Giovanelli.
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Ray.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is consideration of a resolution regarding the speed limit on Washington Road. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, we've had continual requests both on our side in Rochester as well as on the Rochester Hill side of Washington Road to reduce the speed. Council has authorized with their upcoming budget sidewalk work to help with the pedestrian and bicycle traffic, so they're not having to go into the road. This was also one of the requests at the time to reduce the speed limit from 55 down. With the new state law, that option is available. Our new Public Works Director has been working with our road commission as well as Rochester Hills, and I'm not sure if Rochester Hills did it at their last meeting. Yeah, they've actually passed this resolution as well, and so the road commission, to be able to basically post the speed limit at 45 miles an hour, needs our council to do the same. I will note there would be approximately 4 signs that would be required. We're estimating a total cost of $1,400, and that's for the signs and the installation.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Any comments from the audience? Council?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I move to approve this as presented to establish the 45-mile-per-hour speed limit on Washington Road and the expense to the 4 signs that are required by law.
I have a motion by Councilmember Peterson. Do I have support? Support by the Mayor Pro Tem, Councilmember Cuthbertson, then Councilmember Ray.
I suppose this is a rhetorical question. Is there any opportunity to reduce the speed limit below 45? I understand the import of the word statutory. I just want to make sure that everyone understands clearly what the implication of that is.
Yeah, we did look into this, and I know the chief and I spent a little bit of time as well as in Public Works too. So we would actually have, there's a process to do that. We would have to have the state police actually come out and do a various study to see. That might take about 2 years to even get this there to this 45. So this would be, in my mind, the first step. The second step really is having that sidewalk connection component so that we're not having pedestrian traffic actually in the road. Once we have this at 45, I feel then we could, if we still need to or want to, can do that study with the state to see if we could lower the speed anymore. But this would be the first step in that process.
Councilmember Ray.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm
I have
sorry.
One more thing.
Sorry.
It's $350 to stick a sign in the ground?
Yes. Yes, we did look at that again. The road commission would like to put their sign, make sure that it meets all the reflectivity components. That it's and again, I don't want if the sign's put sideways or in a different angle or that to have the road commission or anybody else coming back to us. So that is the cost.
I was
for-
going to say,
yep.
I mean, I may try to retire from council and get in a different line of work. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ray.
Thank you. For what is, I think we've all identified at least 5 business opportunities to serve in some capacity after serving on council. Just before moving forward, I see friendly faces from the Washington Road segment, and there was an open moment for you to have any comment, but I just want to make sure that everyone kind of understands that, this, without having the posted speed limit, it's up to some guesstimate or some assumption, and the risk that we have in terms of how, if we wanted to move forward with a calculated speed limit, is that after the road is leveled and made pristine, they would sample the speeds of cars driving at will along the road. And they take the, correct me if I'm wrong, they take the 80th percentile. Basically, if everybody speeds on that road and it's in pristine condition, whatever they're speeding at is going to get set as the standard.
Correct.
So this is our opportunity to cap that below what it would likely be something higher, cap it at 45 as a means to move forward in terms of trying to control the speed on that road. So, I guess what I'm trying to just do is reiterate the reason why for 45, and that the city can't just arbitrarily say we want to make it 25.
Yeah, we just went, yep, definitely.
And that we can. This is like the
first
best.
step.
Yeah, this is the first step in that process. We can certainly go lengths in terms of trying to do radar control and all that sort of stuff, but we're not just blanket passing some speed limit to let people keep speeding on Washington.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Ray. Councilmember Giovanelli.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know we've got some 24-mile-an-hour signs over at the DPW. I saw them. So perhaps we can use those. Typo.
42.
So this is just typical government. This grinds me to no end, but it sort of is what it is. Is there other creative ways we can use to change things along that path? One of which would be, don't maintain it, and it's like a minefield, right? And you can only go 10 miles an hour. That might anger some folks, but then again, you've accomplished the objective. Also, perhaps a school crossing. I don't know, something. So what I'd like to do is challenge my colleagues in the administration to maybe think outside the box a little bit for us to accomplish the objective without necessarily,
Or maybe
getting
our
a
little
different one.
sign that we put up when people are misbehaving, not stop, slowing down for the crosswalk. Maybe we put that out there.
I like
for-
that, a crosswalk. I think the crosswalk into the woods is perfect.
Yeah, so we can put that sign out there and it kind of goes over.
You have the
Welcome.
sign like they have
Somebody's
over
not
by
comfortable with our freelance.
Solaronics, that says you have to stop and go across. Come on, Shannon, work with us.
I would love to. Unfortunately, it's not our road.
But
This is a county road commission roadway. We don't have the authority or the jurisdiction over it, and therein lies why they are installing the signs, and they are going to take over complete ownership and operation and maintenance of those signs.
possession is 9/10 of the law, Shannon.
And state law says, yeah, but we only own half of it.
I know, right?
Or
No,
we
but
only
after that-
reside
That's
in
right.
half of it. And the state law basically says that on gravel roads, it's set at the 80th percentile of the speed, and that speed test has to be done within 10 days of a freshly graded and chlorided road. So
No,
it's,
we get it.
it's
this
after
is-
you put it back to pristine conditions, they look at what that 80th percentile is, and you could be stuck with something greater than the 55.
Have we reached out to Mr. Kokendiffer for his assistance in this regard?
We haven't. We've used again, through the road commission, and So we've worked with the road commission and also with our neighbor who is on the other side, Rochester Hills.
Got it. I mean, I know Sue Ann's got tons of juice over there still too. Maybe she could take care of it for us.
Quite honestly, the road commission doesn't want us to post it at all.
Got it.
They're against this request to post it at 45.
Yeah, because people automatically assume it's lower to begin with. So
They automatically assume it's 55. But if you haven't had a freshly graded road and there's a lot of washboard on the roadway, then the thought process is that a smart driver would slow down. What we tend to see, though, is that people will speed up to try and skip a lot of the washboard as they go across. So
now, if you're in my truck, I could understand that.
so
minivan, I don't think so.
it's one of the offshoots. But at least because we're in a county that has a higher population, we have the ability to set it at 45 rather than the unposted 55.
Just like I said, if there's a ways we can accomplish the same objective without, calling it what it is, to be creative, I would encourage us to try and do that.
Anything we do would have to be approved through the Road Commission for Oakland County because it is their roadway.
Lovely.
I think the Mayor Pro Tem had a,
Yeah, I just had a quick question on the signs. What is the 4 signs? What length are we talking about?
The full stretch of Washington,
And so is
the
that
whole gravel side.
Okay, so how many miles is that?
I didn't pull a
Okay,
distance
I was just
on it before I
wondering.
came in.
Okay.
any other questions? We have a motion on the floor, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Belden.
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Cuthbertson.
Yes.
Giovanelli.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Ray.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have reports and regular business. Next is consideration of a request from the DDA for a budget amendment to purchase a sound system. Welcome, Vice Chair, Mr. Papalonia.
Good evening, Council. Thank you. It's nice to be here again.
Thank you for being so patient.
It seems like I always fall in a certain spot on this roster, but it's always worth waiting, and it's always good to keep up on city business. We're very excited to bring this proposal tonight. We've been working very hard on this sound system for the downtown area. The DDA office has prepared a great package for everybody, and I think that you've had time to go through it. We had Christy and I and our committee. We worked with interviewed a number of vendors and a number of people, and actually people who install this. There's the manufacturers and the installers, and it's quite. We learned quite a bit. The people that we were suggesting and recommending actually did the sound system at the new Jimmy John Stadium. They got great credentials. If you look, they've got a patented product that we would get, and they're right here in Waterford, Michigan. So our warranty, they're close, and we're very, very excited about it. They were also, they put together a waterproof system, and it was quite a bit of technical stuff that we learned and passed on through the state of Michigan. We had to get the MDOT approval, which we did. And that approval deals with sound system and sound carry and distances and projections of the sound and so forth. If you look, it will be, we're proposing to go between 2nd and University on both sides of Main Street. We will not interfere at the intersections where there's audio for people crossing. If it's blind or whatever, in those audios, we will not interfere with any of that. In addition, I personally talked to Chief Schettenhelm and to Chief Cieslak, and they both had some very positive comments, and there was a lot of benefits for security, there's benefits for energy management, communications amongst the people, and especially on special events, parades, if you have a lot of people downtown, the nights with the lights, and so on and so forth. So I think in addition to the benefits of having a sound system downtown, which was one of the top items on all of the lists for the last 3 or 4 years, that we've been monitoring things that people would like to see done in the city. And these are citizens, these are business owners, property owners, even people in the administration. So the sound system is very conducive to a very classy, professional downtown area. we've all heard it in different malls and in different situations. If you go, I've been in San Antonio, I've been in San Francisco, I've been in New York, and sound systems and the proper music, which we will select ourselves, add an ambiance, and actually it's been proven that it improves people's feelings, and maybe they spend more money, they go to restaurants and so on and so forth. So we're very excited about that. And then we will have the speaker system where we would be able to get on that speaker and say, hey, there's a storm coming or whatever. So it's, in addition to the sound system and the music, there's a lot of other benefits. So I would be happy to answer any questions on the brochure or whatever that
Okay,
you'd
so
like.
I'm just going to ask the audience, did anybody have any questions? All right, Councilmember Peterson.
Hi, thank you, and I did have the privilege of seeing the presentation at the DDA meeting. But however, I had a question. What are the hours of operation for that? I mean, do we have set hours?
We'll set the hours. I mean, DDA will set the hours, and I think we did talk about that. Christy and I did discuss that, and we're probably going to, obviously work that within the merchants. The sound will not go into the suburban areas or the residential areas. So we will probably figure out the best time to maximize it, whether it's from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. or whatever. I think, we probably will experiment a little bit on that, but I think if I had to I would say, 9 to 9 maybe. That's probably a good start, and maybe a little bit different on the weekends, maybe 9 to 6 or 9 to 9 on Saturday, maybe 9 to 6 on Sunday, something like that. The cost to run it, and actually this system is a very energy efficient system, so the cost to run it is much less than previous, I'm going to say, antiquated systems. So we're very, very excited about the product, and we researched it quite extensively.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yeah, so what is the cost then to run this?
I think the cost to run it, we don't know exactly, let's say, the electrical cost, but it's way down. We may have a minor cost to subscribe to maybe a music.
Oh, okay.
Like let's say we subscribe to a whatever, that might be.
Christmas music station
Yeah,
or something.
everything would be, we want it to be season appropriate, Christmas, Easter, summer, winter, parade, all of that stuff, and we'll be able to control that. And there are actually probably a half a dozen things we can subscribe to, and if I think our cost would be $30, $40, $50 a month, maybe something like that. And DDA certainly is prepared to fit that in.
Okay, another,
And-
Madam Mayor? Yes.
yes.
So, and everyone contacted leader dogs that won't interfere with them walking the dogs and doing their training?
No, we don't think so. There's actually music. Some of the stores right now, some of the storefronts have music of their own. And actually, this will be probably an improvement to what they're doing, and those will all go away because now we're going to have a condensed, we're going to have a common music and a controlled sound. There's a few places that have their own, and I actually sat there when we were testing it and polled some of the people walking by. I said, well, what do you think of the sound? And everybody liked it, And actually, I think, we have such a beautiful downtown and we've improved so much. I think this is just kind of a nice final touch, an additional lift for us.
Okay, and another last question. Where is this all going to be housed at for all the mechanics of this to have it work?
We'll house it all in the DDA office.
Okay.
And we'll have control of the sound, we'll have control of the microphone, and all of that stuff is actually all be locked down. So it'll be like, we'll have control and security of that system.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Cuthbertson.
Thank you. Glad that this matter is being presented to council for budget amendment and approval. I know in years past that discussions at goals and objectives have usually brought ideas like this forward at goals and objectives. This one, I think, was a late bloomer in that regard, but I had the same questions my colleague did, that at some point in the near future, some statement of how the DDA thinks it's going to use it, hours of operation, the actual sound levels, what your plan is, probably should be tightened up a bit. I do recall at one point that some of the subscription services for music can be somewhat expensive. I hope the marketplace has changed. So, getting some operation, what that looks like for a budget matter going forward, probably we ought to understand. So I'll obviously support what's before us this evening. What I will say, just sort of by extension to kind of take few steps above this, is that this really is a tremendous luxury for our community. This is something that isn't a common municipal service. This isn't a sidewalk. This isn't a parking area. And at some point, I have the question, and I've had others raise the question of, how do we fund our neighborhoods with the same attention to detail and resources that we expend in our downtown district? How does that happen? How can we afford to do one standard of improvement in one place versus what appears to be a different set of standards in another? In fact, we had to raise property taxes to fund road repairs. And so I really hate to take this as an example to really demonstrate what some people are perceiving as being two different standards in this community. And I don't think that conversation is going to go away. For me, it doesn't change the outcome this evening because we have a TIF, we have a plan, we have something that's been put before us in a reasonable and thoughtful manner. But this sort of thing raises broader questions, I think. And I don't know that any of us have the answer here tonight. I just want to put it on the record that it's being asked. And so I just think we should be mindful of that going forward. Thank you.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And just a couple more questions. I guess the first one is there going to be any added cost for the business owners?
No.
To have this?
No.
But the $83,000, that's the one-time setup of doing everything downtown.
That's the labor, material, our warranty, everything.
Okay, and how long is the warranty for? I forgot.
There was a service warranty on the installation, and then there was an extended warranty on all the product.
Okay.
And that is all in there.
Right.
But
that's
it's a
okay.
great product. I'm very excited about the product. We researched it for a long time, and we interviewed a number of companies, and I think our general consensus was this was what we felt that downtown Rochester should have. We're not going to put something in there that's substandard, that's not going to look good, it's not going to perform, and it's going to look good now, it's going to look good 10 years from now, it's going to operate the same way.
Okay, I do like the Jimmy John's sound system. I've been there, so that is a nice sound system. The only thing that you mentioned, though, is that no other sound systems allowed, and I know the Home Bakery has one currently out there, which I know you can't really hear it from across the street, but you can hear it when you get closer to there, and it is nice. But what happens if or after the DDA, what if it dissolves and it's no longer here and it's sunset? I mean...
What happens if the
Yeah.
DDA goes away?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just saying that
I
only
would
because...
assume that if the DDA goes away, somebody in the city is going to take this system over. I mean, it's...
because of that cost then of what that might be down the road, I guess that's kind of what you were speaking of. And that's not to, I think it could be a great thing. I just didn't know later on down the road what those costs are since we don't have them yet, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. The Mayor Pro Tem and then Councilmember Giovanelli.
Okay, thank you. I am so surprised at this. I don't know how many meetings it's been discussed. I just happened to see a DDA meeting, and it was discussed at the last DDA meeting. It's never been brought to us that this has been a discussion. Everywhere we go, we're bombarded with noise. Even at the gas pump, everywhere we go, we're bombarded with noise. And sometimes it's just nice to walk downtown, to go by the Home Bakery, have maybe a little something, and then you're walking down and you don't have all the noise. So, I mean, and $83,000, I don't know what the replacement fund is, how many years that's going to be. I don't know what the operation cost is. I don't know what the legacy is. I think I saw that there was a 3-year warranty. I mean, this is the first time that we've ever discussed it, and I don't even still understand the reason why.
Why we're proposing a system? Well, if you spend $10 or $12 million on parking decks, you spend millions of dollars redoing your roads. We ask the property owners and the business owners to keep their property clean and to do repairs and to do a lot of things. This is a very small item that a classy downtown area like Rochester should have. It's not noise. It's supplemental, positive music, soft sound. It's not noise by any means. The cars make more noise than this sound system makes, and it's a background type of music. And we've done a tremendous research on how much sound that they'll get and the pitch of the sound. So there's a lot more. That's why we selected this system and these speakers. And it even goes further into the positioning of the speakers, how they're positioned and which way the sound goes. And it's pretty involved. We learned a great deal in this studying these systems. So
I mean, I think the study looks great. I know that you've done a lot of research. I'm just so surprised, truthfully, that we're being asked to amend a budget for $83,000. If you ask business owners, would they rather have their SED go away so we could have put it in the parking structure versus putting a sound system in? I think you'd be surprised at the answer. This was never brought up at one of our reports, our liaison report. This has never been brought up for discussion. So I sit on the PSD board, and we're talking about a farmer's market, and I would love to see where that's going. That's going to cost money. I just don't see that this is something that is eloquent for the city of Rochester. And I mean, there's been no presentation of why or the sound or what that looks like. I mean, nothing. I mean, I have zero to go on.
Well, I disagree with you. I've been going to goals and objections, and I've been on the DDA for almost 4 years, and this has been talked about at every goals and objections meeting that I've attended.
So then,
in addition to other meetings, this is information that we got from the merchants, from the business owners, from the property owners, and from the public.
Well, and this, I guess, is what I depend on the liaison to talk about, I guess. I mean, if it's been going on for 4 years, there's 4 years of liaisons that I have never heard a peep about this sound system.
The sound system has been on all the, we sent out polls. I sent out surveys, and it was circulated throughout the city, through every department, everything. And the sound system came back on every one of those surveys.
Well, if you do a survey, I was just going to say, the surveys that we received on council did have sound system, it had lighting, it had big bright lights, it had farmer's market, so it has been supplied as the summary of what happened at goals and objectives when we did do the 2 surveys for the business-to-business survey when we went door-to-door and brought that back. So it was on there.
If you search the minutes for sound system, zip. There's not one thing on the minutes on a sound system for city council.
I think, any other thing, Mayor Pro Tem?
No.
Councilmember Giovanelli, and then I'll go to Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I also sit on the DDA, is not in my council position, but as a resident of the city of Rochester. So I've been on DDA for quite some time. We've talked about multiple things, and it's no surprise how I feel there has to be a balance between our responsibility for infrastructure and doing the stuff under the dirt and that cities traditionally do, but also too we have to expend effort, time, energy, effort, and life force on certain things that create the demand for people to come to our downtown. And this is one of those things. So it's a one-time of $83,000. I understand that in the grand scheme of things, is there other things? Can we spend that money on? Absolutely. We could line up, and we probably have 7 different answers of what we should be spending that money on. But I think that the DDA has done a great job, and this council has done a great job of really recognizing the fact that we need to balance, and maintain the momentum, as it were. And my personal opinion with respect to the sound system is that I think it's almost an expectation now where people go to shopping areas that they have sort of that as part of the experience. Now, I know that my kids go to the corner of the walk, and their funny thing is to keep hitting the walk, 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 and they get it to rap. That's like their big thing. So if I can get rid of that, that'd be great. But the only reason I voted for this on DDA was because Nick wasn't going to be in charge of the music. So there'll be no Korn or Rage Against the Machine. It'll be something a little bit more subdued. No, we did talk about that, and I suspect that there's going to be some growing pains as we go through this. One thing I've learned in my 9 years of council, that no good deed ever goes unpunished. So I'm sure somebody will get angry about something, and they'll be back before council making it our problem. So I think that going into this eyes wide open. It's fine, but there's enough checks and balances in the system with respect to the kind of music and that sort of thing. I'm perfectly happy to go ahead and make a motion to approve this budget amendment.
I have a motion by Councilmember Cuthbertson, by Councilmember Giovanelli. Do I have support on the motion?
Support.
Support by Councilmember Peterson. I just want to say it would be, I'll let
I know
you.
you do, yeah, I know.
So.
Okay, no, I know.
It would be in your best interest to take the suggestions on hours, music, and bring back another report maybe after your next site development committee meeting to send it to the council, and we'll make sure everybody gets a copy. And maybe we could make some suggestions at council on what we think would be good hours, what we would think would be good music suggestions. That way you have a little bit more data. Plus also go to business development, and they can we can send out a survey to all the businesses. I would invite the residents, if they have suggestions, to come forward. This is a good time to do it, is right now. So Councilmember Peterson, then Councilmember Ray.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, so as your DDA liaison, it is on my agenda tonight to speak of, because they have actually, after all months and months of discussion, it came out of this last week's meeting with what they were going to do and what they had decided on. So I do know that at the visioning session that we had that took place, this is what came out of there as well, and they had been talking about it prior. But this has been, I know it has been on very many presentations come out of this here too. So I don't know what else I should have done or could have done for bringing this here to this council, but I have to wait on things until they have come to fruition from that body. So with that, I just wanted to let that be clear.
Okay, and Councilmember Ray.
Thank you. As a personal request, I would hope at this cost, not to be nitpicky, but in the installation of these speakers, that something different than a stainless steel strap and an aluminum mounting block could come up to attach these to the light poles. Like the speakers are all being painted racing green.
Everything will be color coordinated.
Yeah, it was just on the illustration, it
that'll
said
be
stainless steel
definitely-
strap, and I thought,
everything is going to be color coordinated. We requested stainless steel because we didn't want it to rust. So, we've taken a lot of precautions to make this thing look good. We don't want it 6 months from now to look like what you guys do here. We're not going to let that happen.
Right.
But that's a very good observation.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Councilmember Ray?
No, thank you.
Councilmember Cuthbertson.
Thank you. I think some of the discussion this evening that relates to surprise or whatever the adjective you'd like to use is actually from the goals and objectives process for last year's budget. What happened typically, the DDA in its goals and objectives workshops prior to presenting at a dedicated council workshop is they'll, generally speaking, identify capital projects for that year, and then they'll be discussed at the council DDA goals and objectives workshop and list out the sort of precisely these kinds of projects. And then they will go into the budget, and then people will have this working knowledge of kind of how this cadence flows. What happened with this year's budget that was made a year and a half ago was that a tremendous amount of money went into an unallocated bucket, and capital projects were not listed out in detail in the way that typically gives this council notice of significant expenditures. That has gotten much better in this budget, and I would recommend that in making next year's budget, that the DDA have its projects for fiscal year end 19 well identified ahead of its workshop with council to get them into the budget for 19, so that when those projects are brought forward and executed, they're not a surprise. And I think that's a procedural matter more than anything. And so we're looking backwards a little bit. I don't want to belabor the point, but how that communication works in setting priorities and budgets and expectations is an important mechanism. And so this discussion has helped highlight that, I think, in some ways. So, thank you.
Councilmember Ray.
Thank you. Just to expound on that part, at least if I can speak, at least just from my own personal experience, presenting to the DDA on behalf of the Infrastructure Committee, I found a very willing and engaging environment in terms of talking about scheduled products within the DDA district. That they thank the Infrastructure Committee for identifying the number of projects, and we're looking forward to working with us on a one-on-one. So at least as it relates to infrastructure and what we accomplished over the past year, I found a willing participant on the other end to have those scheduled out, and hopefully we'll see that identified in their subsequent budgets.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, and I guess, we just came off of amended budgets, and I wish I had my budget in front of me, because each department, and this was not on there, each department, the police department asked for certain things, the fire department, the DPW, which we said no to because it wasn't in our budget. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but as Councilmember Giovanelli just talked about just a few minutes ago, is when we say no something to a budget, when we're saying yes to something, we're sacrificing something else. And we don't even know what we're sacrificing because I don't have those things in front of me. And so this is just such a surprise to me. And I don't know, I'm just not used to this kind of surprise. It's a budget amendment when I haven't heard anything about this project. The last time I heard it was when I was in the visioning session a gazillion years ago, and I'm not on DDA. I'm on several other committees, and so I have so much responsibility from that I'm, and I'm not saying this to you personally at all. I'm just trying to vet this out so we have a better understanding. When we say yes to something, we're saying no to something else. And we said no to several things on that budget that could have been very helpful to the community. And we didn't have the DDA put anything into the parking deck, and there was a lot of reasons why not, and that we cut that in half, and that the SED is still going to, continue on at least for another year. But that's frustrating to me because I still don't. It seems like a nice thing. I don't know anything about it except for this package. I don't know why. I don't know. You sound like you've vetted out for 4 years. This is our first meeting we have talked about this. So for me, this is my very first time. And I only stumbled upon it because I just happened to stumble upon a meeting. And it's not fair.
Well, as the chairman of the site committee, our job is to do capital improvements. And that's what we're doing it, and we're going to continue to do it with the funds that are available to us. These funds, I believe, we had these funds committed. These are our funds, or are they not? These are the funds that.
Correct. The reason we had the unallocated.
Christie, if you could come. That's okay.
The reason we had the unallocated bucket, which we've never had before, is because we were waiting to see what the city's infrastructure needs were. That's why we were waiting until we found out that we wouldn't need to be earmarking anything until this upcoming budget year that starts July 1, that we decided to pull the trigger on the sound system. So that's why it wasn't earmarked, I think, because we were waiting, because we were hoping that we could participate with the city this budget year, but there weren't any projects that were
So
needed for the
did I miss
infrastructure.
this in the goals and objectives report when we got before city in the budget?
I don't know if I had it in the report for goals and objectives. I don't know if it was in the meeting minutes there. I know we've talked about it for the last couple
I
of
know
years.
it was
goals
in
and
the
objectives.
surveys, too.
And I know it was in the surveys, and I know it came out of in the visioning session stuff too. But I don't know if the last goals and objectives minutes, I don't have those at my fingertips to see if it was in this one.
I'm just saying, for budgetary reasons, this is important. It's important to me, it's important to the citizens, it's important to every department, because we need to know what we're, and really, guys, this is, I mean, I'm for you. This is a total surprise to me, and I feel like I try to keep on top of everything that's going on to the best of my ability, and I am so surprised at this. So, I mean, I don't know where the breakdown is, but I think that there's a root cause for that, and maybe I'm partially responsible for this, but I really want you to consider, I mean, everyone consider where that breakdown was.
Well, I can understand your frustration. I mean, certainly, we didn't try to cloak and dagger this thing and
Sure,
try to
I'm not
come in
saying
here and
that
pop
at
it
all.
on everybody.
Yep.
We've been working very hard on it. It's been very out in the open. We've had discussions regarding, we had to back off on site development because we have a commitment when we talk with the mayor and with the infrastructure and our chairman, these funds have to go for that infrastructure. So what do we have left? And I will say too that DDA, we have been working on kind of on the side, getting some donations, personal donations to help with other things that we're doing. So, we're watching the dollars. We feel we're spending the dollars in we're very responsible areas. We think this is very important. We think it's great for the downtown. I mean, if we didn't, we wouldn't be involved in. The DDA spent a lot of time on the parking decks, and we made sacrifices there too. So, we're all part of the big city. We just think this is, kind of like a crown in the big thing of the jewels. So it's just what we feel.
Okay,
But it was never any intent to just drop this bomb on somebody, because we've been very open and verbal about this totally.
Thank you.
If I could, this is just, I've been working on the actual programming to figure out the cost of the long term on that, not Vito. So as I was going through, it looks like an average is going to be about $30 a month. There's about a $100 startup fee one time, and then it's about $30 a month going forward, and that'll be on a monthly basis. So
okay.
Yeah. Just,
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and call the vote. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Belden.
Yes.
Russell.
No.
Cuthbertson.
Yes.
Giovanelli.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
Ray.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you
Vice
very
Chair.
much. We're very excited about it, and we will come back. We'll get a kind of a method of operation and hours of operation, and we welcome everybody's input for that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next, we will receive a report from first the DDA liaison, Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, so at the meeting last week, they had done the election of officers. The chair is going to be Mark Albrecht. Vice chair is Vito Papalona. They did approve the sound system, as you just learned. And they also Christie did report that they received the Main Street accreditation again, so that was awesome. Vito gave an update regarding the pocket parks that are going in. I'm sure everyone has seen that taking place over there by Penny Black in the parking deck. And also on another note, I forgot, I'm sorry, and Chris Johnson was elected as the secretary. And on a note regarding Chris Johnson, he is going to be competing for National Chef of the Year. So from our own hometown here, I think that is awesome. So he already won state.
So I'll just add the DDA is also coming up. They're talking about an attendance policy. We pretty much sent it back to the drawing board to come up with something that it mimics the other boards and commissions in the city. Something that council would have an ultimate approval of, and something that follows their bylaws and guidelines. So that was just a follow-up, so thank you.
And Madam Mayor, if I may?
Absolutely.
Because you brought that up, and as the liaison, I didn't put that on here because that had gone back for further information.
And it's
so-
not to
Right, no,
dismiss
that's,
you
no,
any-
that's why I wanted to just state, so, if I don't bring something up, it's because they're still working on something.
And also, to be perfectly honest, I've done the liaison. Sometimes you just forget things, and that's why it's kind of nice one of us can chime in and vice versa. So it's to help. It's not to do anything but that. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I've gotten more emails on the pocket parks. So can someone, maybe Nick, you can just kind of describe and tell them that, because I got a lot of interest in.
Sure,
I mean,
so
they
there's-
look cool.
Yep, so one plug, so the easy one is the Penny Black. So right now, Penny Black Park. So the city required when we moved the deck out and vacated part of, or abandoned part of that right of way, that created two opportunities. And there was money set aside actually in the parking decks for the parks if possible. Well, there's about $19,000 left. That wasn't enough to cover the park. So then the DDA said it was important to them from goals and objectives, et cetera. So they helped reach out to fund that. Penny Black is really, both of them are very passive parks. We might wish the music was there, but that's another story. So a Half Moon, you can see it right now, the Half Moon gravel sidewalk. There will be 6 benches, landscaping that against the parking structure. So there's a green belt right now that was just mulch, and it's going to have some height, some trees, and some flowering bushes, etc. Mr. Modetz, Pro Tem Modetz, donated $30,000 to that park. There will be a plaque and then a statue, some kind of a statue, a piece of art in that park. So again, very quiet. It's irrigated. It's lawn, wildflowers, low maintenance. We worked with Penny Black to make sure we didn't interfere. Everybody's backs basically are to where people sat. We actually talked about which side should we put the benches on, and Penny Black asked not to have people staring at their people sitting outside, which was fine. So that was number one. But the real important park is on the corner, if you ask me. So it's a park. You see the 2 limestone posts right now. On top of that will be the same lattice that is at the park by on the Riverwalk. So that exact same lattice in black. You see the Wall of Fame. So when people want to donate personally, there's 3 levels. I think we have it at 1,000, at 500, 2,500, and above. Recognition
Christy's
for
saying
folks.
no.
What is it?
1,000, 2,500, 5,000.
There you go. So 1,000, 2,500, 5,000,
Thank you.
and above to go on the Wall of Fame, both sides. So it's lit appropriately. It doesn't look like a monument at a graveyard or whatever. We're worried about how we're going to make it look. It's black granite with black and silver recognition of the folks that donated the money. Again, benches along both sides, tables where you could sit and eat your lunch, play a game, trash cans, minimum lighting, but step-down lighting. We're using the same lights from downtown. Grasses, again, a nice, peaceful place to sit and just relax on your way to the deck. And then we worked with the property owner to the east, Mr. Morris, to make sure that we didn't put any trees that would block his building, because he spent a lot of money on that building. We were very mindful of that. So he worked with us on how to do that. And then, again, a nice, peaceful spot with the sidewalks all connect. Going into that deck, it'll soften the front of the deck. So Chris Sinacori is the contractor, doing a wonderful job. The goal was get it done way before August 15th when we have our park, so have the dedication of the park of the bicentennial monument, et cetera. So they're on schedule, under budget.
August 12th.
August 12th, there you go. And
Christy, you need to come up here and help
yeah,
interpret.
in August.
Share one brain.
Yep. So
We got the
I
bonus
don't know
part.
if
yeah, you don't want to.
Christie,
I
I'm
wouldn't
not
go-
sure it was an equal sharing.
Point well taken. So, but I think they're going to be outstanding and
generous.
very, very nice. And if people want to get involved and donate, that money goes into a separate fund for capital. So as you heard Vito talk about, they have the commitment to the city for the infrastructure. For the other things that they would want to do, that money goes into that fund that they'll make a decision to come back at goals and objectives, say, hey, we've raised X amount more dollars, and see where that goes. If it goes into the infrastructure, it does. But the idea there is to continue to do nice things in the downtown. So the parks should be done probably within 45 days, and I think it's going to look really cool.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
There's not a statue of John Modetz on a horse with one hand. Going like
Liaison,
that.
PSD liaison report.
Well, unfortunately, I had to take Miriam back to the airport to Kenya, and the traffic was insane. So I never made it to PSD. So I don't know if Christy or Nick can help me. Christy's coming up as someone, I don't know. Just a quick report. So sorry and thank you.
Totally fine. So we just, Jenna Odell, who's our new events coordinator, met the group and just reported on movies, which kicks off Sidewalk Sale Weekend. So sidewalk sales are July 13th through the 15th. And we confirmed our movie schedule, which will include Sing, Secret Life of Pets, Hidden Figures, and Rogue One.
I can't wait.
Great.
Very excited.
Great list of movies.
The other thing you may recall from our joint meeting for goals and objectives, one of the new programs that the PSD was putting forward was Caroling in the City, where we are going to pitch MDOT on closing Main Street on a Sunday night in December so we could have a big caroling event. And so I started early with MDOT thinking we might run into a few problems. And after just a few extra pieces of paperwork, we have approval to close Main Street.
You still have to come before.
Oh, we still have to figure out what we're doing because we honestly weren't sure we were going to get approval. So now they're going to be forming a committee to start working on caroling in the city. Let me know if anybody has any ideas or interested. We'd be excited for that. But you'll be hearing more holiday stuff from us probably coming August, September.
Very good.
Thank you.
Next, we will move to new business for referral and miscellaneous. Mr. City Manager.
First item I have is the check register reports. We have one from 6/8 and 6/15. Other than that, for the manager's update, I'm happy to announce that we had our fifth and final water and sewer open house that was just before our council meeting here tonight. So we still had a few residents that actually came. We'll be posting up on the city's website the final presentation, and at each of the meetings we've actually been writing down any questions and answers. More questions, we're putting together the answers. So we'll be posting that as well so that everybody can have a benefit. And again, one of the items that we highlighted in there is the new water and sewer rates will go into effect as of July 1st. Other than that, Finance noted to me that we did just receive this past Friday from the Great Lakes Water Authority their increase, so we'll be adding that to our upcoming agenda. So we're digesting that information, and we'll be sharing it this Friday with Council and the Manager's Report and adding it to the upcoming agenda.
Thank you.
I have one question
Yes,
on this.
absolutely.
Can you, on the register, it was the GFL Environmental for Heritage Days. Was that just for the heritage? I mean, was that within budget, or I haven't seen the environmental, but maybe I just didn't look at it before.
Sure. Are you looking at the 6/15 or the 6/8?
I am looking, yes.
6/15.
6/15.
Okay, sure.
Yep.
So the item that's the 52,129?
Yeah.
All right. I can pull that printed one and get back to you.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Deputy City Manager.
All set, thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Nothing this evening, Your Honor.
Mr. City Attorney.
Nothing, thank you.
Councilmember Ray.
Yeah, if I may briefly, I shared this with some of my neighbors, but it is getting that time of year, and everybody likes to have fun and celebrate responsibly. Just remind all the residents that we do have a firework ordinance, and it does relate to, if I remember correctly, the big takeaways were that you shouldn't be lighting them off anytime other than the day before, day of, or day after the holiday between the hours of 8 and midnight, and that the discarded materials from said fireworks not land on another property owner's property. So within those contexts, look at the ordinance if you want more information, but be kind to your neighbors. To compliment the progress made on the sundial, it's looking absolutely fantastic, and wanted to share that at the recent Historical Commission meeting, all the members unanimously supported the work that's being done on the sundial, and as it relates to celebrating the bicentennial and commemorating the moment. And for what it's worth, I want to let everyone know that the Historical Commission is hiring. We are looking for excited, enthusiastic, strong candidates to join this commission because it is in the process of going through a renaissance. There are big things happening at the Historical Commission, and we are looking for people excited to share in that. So if you have any questions or have an interest, fill an application, email me at rray@rochestermi.org, and I will be happy to get you a seat. Thank you.
And all I want to say to that is hats off and kudos to Councilmember Ray, because the idea he brought forward was something that was tried at another board and commission to no avail, not one in this city. But it's a brilliant idea. It's a way to get new people, but still respect and honor the history of the people that sit on that commission currently. But there's a good way that we can bring new people in and still respect the seasoned committee members. Councilmember Giovanelli.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I feel like it was a Friday Night Lights, coach speech. I'm fired up. Good job.
One application?
Yeah, right. My wife will kill me if I get on one more board or commission. I received some communication from my colleagues in Rochester Hills on council regarding some activity that happened at RARA this week with respect to salaries and salary increases, and them coming before council with substantial increases for the director. I would respectfully like to ask them to put this on hold. I want to get some more information on that, in that matter. It seems to me that a lot of folks on the city council in our sister city are equally as questioning what is going on, and before we get another sound system issue to my colleague here, right? So I don't want to get this dropped on me at the last second. So I respectfully, I would like to make a motion that we would task RARA, have the chairman and director kind of come before council, share with us their rationale behind what they did, so we can have a robust discussion. And I would like to get clarity from the administration and city attorney as to what impact or what decision-making we have with respect to RARA's budget, what we can and can't do with respect to approving these salary increases. Thank you.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Giovanelli. Do I have support?
Support.
By the Mayor Pro Tem. I will just echo Councilmember Giovanelli. A lot of council members from the city of Rochester Hills have contacted me. I've been doing some research on the side. My concern is this is the type of thing that needs to come before council, both councils. That way we can properly vent it. We can ask lots of questions. That's my number one concern is the process has to come before us, and then we can make a decision based on what we think is in the best interest. We do support RARA with a great deal of money. So I just think this is a good start to do that moving forward. Councilmember Cuthbertson.
Yeah, I would share my colleagues' general remarks, and I guess I would like to encourage the organizations that we have relationships with, that when they start talking about priorities, that this is something that's clearly identified right at the beginning of the year, or in a fiscal summary of their operation, that hey, you know what, we've dramatically undercomped our people for a long time, and we feel we need to address this moving forward. With this one, I didn't get the feel that this was advertised as a budget priority and is now being brought to us after the fact. And so to use the theme of the night, it's not a welcome surprise. Let me put it that way. What the dollar figures are or aren't. I've only seen a bit of email traffic on its face. It seems like pretty big numbers, but I'll reserve further comment. Hopefully the motion that's been presented will carry and be responded to in the same manner in which it's offered. So, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other discussion on the item?
I do,
Yes.
Madam Mayor. Okay, I sit on the DDA, so I would just like to clear up a few things, because none of my colleagues have actually reached out to discuss it with me, or when I have asked, I have not gotten a response back, except for I did get Mayor Pro Tem to let me know that everyone was going to vote no on it. I guess the issue here at hand is that this took place back last year and was presented in their budget amendments that came before both councils. Both councils unanimously approved everything that was in there. everything was very clear. Did not have, I mean, we had every opportunity to ask the questions and everything else, especially because the purchase of the building was there and also part of all of that as well. We did not have that happen. This is, should not have come to a surprise because it was in there. But I would like to ask my colleagues, though, that they would go ahead and reach out to me as well if they have comments, because I am their liaison that sits on that board, and I think it would only be respectful of that, so we could all talk together about that here openly. And I guess I'm a little put off myself just because of the fact that the information that is out there has not been displayed to everyone properly, that has caused this big uproar. So if everyone would like that, I already know that my whole entire board and the executive director, Ron Jewell, would have been more than happy to be here tonight to address anything if there were concerns, because I've received some emails too that the council people here have reached out to some of the board members there and have stated their displeasure, and for me to be prepared for tonight, so I am. We have had a lot of discussion regarding this here, as these people were being compared to every other entity around here, and how other entities, as far as the OPC was brought up, that those people are trying for a raise and they're not getting one and they're not doing this. And I have to tell you, this is exactly, this is an election year, and you can actually tell for the people who have caused a lot of the discussions that they don't want to do something that might cause them to lose their seat. But they don't need to be passing around information that is not accurate to fellow colleagues in the area on both cities. So in all fairness to everyone on the board and the board that I represent for the city of Rochester, all this information did come before everybody in both cities and was voted on. Thank you.
I will, go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
Just with the discussion, I would love to see the study and the budget amendment, because my recollection, the budget amendment just had the $10,000 bonus, not the retro. So I would love to see those two items with the presentation.
And I would just follow up that I support the request for the presentation so we can clear up and ask any questions that we might have. Did I see another hand up?
Yes.
Councilmember Cuthbertson.
And I know that my colleague meant to say rah-rah on this one when she first said DDA, just to be clear.
Did I? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just both of them running together tonight.
No. And understanding the sensitivity of the issue at hand, I just wanted to take a second and say we're talking about rah-rah.
I know, just because I'm the DDA liaison as well, so sorry about that, Joe.
Right. No. Not a worry. And I have many things on my wall in my office, but one of them I kindly refer to it as my townie credential. It is the 1987 Rah-Rah Boys Baseball A-League regular season and playoff champions. So my dad coached my Rah-Rah baseball team. So little factoid for you there this evening. Thank you. That was actually my only comment for miscellaneous, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Madam Clerk, roll,
Although
please.
we have a vote, don't we?
Could the motion be reread, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Councilmember Joe Vanelli has requested that the Rah-Rah Chair and Director come before council and give information on the decision, and also ask the city attorney information on city council's options and power and authority under the agreement.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
And just with that we would like to see the study and the budget amendment.
Okay, and that was your request that I was going to put in the comments.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I suspect that I'll be part of the presentation, so.
Yeah.
Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Selden?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Cuthbertson?
Yes.
Joe Vanelli?
Yes.
Peterson?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Thank you. Council, anything else, Councilmember Giovanelli?
Done enough damage, I'm good.
Councilmember Cuthbertson, did you want to add
I'm
anything?
finished. No, I can, next meeting, somebody wants a factoid, just.
Yes, okay. Councilmember Peterson.
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a few things. First, we still are receiving the unsolicited newspaper being delivered to properties throughout our city, usually on a Saturday morning, afternoon. Yes.
Could I raise something on that?
Yeah,
Councilmember Peterson, we, I don't know, probably 8 years ago, had review of this same issue. The city attorney at the time wrote an opinion on it. And my recollection of it was,
Freedom of speech.
yeah, you've got a speech thing. If they're littering, maybe you have an argument, but you don't have a per se power to regulate that, I think was the upshot of it. And I saw that this had come up in a meeting that I was absent at.
correct.
And I wanted to, as somebody with some institutional knowledge on this arcane point, I felt compelled to offer it.
Oh, and I brought it up again because a lot of residents are complaining about it. Next one is a lot of people are complaining and very upset about the noise at Penny Black at night with the music, I guess, going into the neighborhood. So I do know that there was a discussion back when they were going to do outdoor dining that that was to be kept at, a level. So if that could be looked into. Also, I'm just going to state my displeasure for the cancellation of the Rochester 200 event and the barn dance. Going over the expenditures and that have been spent on those events here in the city, I just find that it's a little disheartening regarding that there. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes. Well, I did a fantastic tour of the neighborhood house. And I know that we did our tour, to see some things that we need to do at the clothes closet, in the pantry. And so I think to make it full circle, maybe we could do a tour of really the home office and what maybe we can continue to close that gap, doing that, because that's a very excellent partnership that we have with the neighborhood house, Rochester Hills, and that type of thing. Then the ribbon cutting, you're going to cover the ribbon cutting for today?
Can if you'd like.
Yes, well, I'll give you something to do. Was there, Chief, was there any complaints about the music in the park on Sunday?
No.
That there was?
No.
None? Okay, good. All right. Because we could hear it. I didn't get any complaints, but I'm like, okay, so cool. That's awesome. And that was it.
Do I have any public?
Oh, I do have a thing that's important.
That's okay, go for it.
The Paint Creek Trailways Commission, they have put together a subcommittee because we are looking for the village of Lake Orion to be a membership of the Paint Creek Trailway that would have to become before all communities. And what would happen is right now our trail ends at Atwater. It's kind of a weird ending. It just kind of abruptly ends. And so what they're looking for in this subcommittee is to end at Children's Park, if anyone is familiar with that at Lake Orion. So it might be kind of a cool place to end at. So more to come on that. And we also did a site visit on Bridge 33.7 at Dutton and Silver Bell. That's probably going to be $1 million some dollars to redo that bridge. And there's really no good, when we redo that bridge, there's no way around it. So that portion of that trail, there'll be no detour. And that's probably going to be coming sooner than later. So thank you.
Any miscellaneous public comment this evening? Okay, I will go ahead and we need 2 people for the ZBA. We had a ribbon cutting at Lake North Central for the mural. I was on the committee that sat to pick the mural drawing, and she did a phenomenal job. The Mayor Pro Tem was there today for the ribbon cutting. They had a great turnout. If any of you haven't been over to Lake North Central at Rochester College, I would highly recommend. You can either take the trail to get there or you can park and walk down. It's a beautiful area. They've done a really fantastic job of making that area look nice. So if there's nothing else, meeting adjourned. I know. Should have taken